everybody. Oh, let me move this. Let me move this. And that. Happy Wednesday, if it is in fact Wednesday where you are. Otherwise, happy whatever day it is. Just moving my keyboard out of the way. Bear with me one moment. Move this back. I actually did all of my posting already, so luckily, or happily in my view, I don't have to do any of that. Normally, I end up starting these and realize that I forgot something, but I've covered all the bases this time, so we are good. I am going to, in the background here, I'm going to change the dimensions of something. We're going to work on something different. I'll get to that. Oh, that's interesting. Dimensions. Okay, yeah. I want to alter the dimensions on this thing. And I also have to group this stuff. Oh, I already grouped it. Oh. How nice that I actually did something correctly. For once. Oh, boy. Let me think about what I want to do with this. I don't know. No. Okay, let's make this 12 by... I love 12 by 12. 12 by 12 is a great size to work at. I like square. I like square because it can go on a sticker, you know. It's not necessarily, I don't know, is 12 by 12 bad for prints? I guess not. There are square frames. 12 by 12 is not terrible. No, it's not. It's okay. Or maybe I should do, well, let me see what the 15 by 15 looks like. Let's take a quick look. Let's see. Not that there's anybody here to hear me saying this, but that's okay. I can talk to myself. I'm perfectly fine talking to myself. All right, so if we do 15 by 50, that's a bigger size. What are we looking at in terms? 88 layers. Okay, 88 layers is a good. That's not bad. I can roll with that. I mean, that's assuming I even get this to where I want it to be, which is a very large assumption. So, I gotta figure out what I want to do here. I mean, I don't have to figure this out right now, but what I'd love, and this is going to sound like a strange statement, but it is in fact true. I envy people who can draw good tentacles. Like Lovecraftian type tentacles, because, when somebody does it well, it's so pretty because of the geometry involved and all that stuff. It's so neat to see them. I'm not really good at it. I wish I was better at it. I'm not. I'm not good at it. And I wish I was better. So I'm going to kind of... Wait, I'm completely the wrong thing. Am I the wrong layer? Let me see. Hold on. Oh, I must be on the wrong layer. I am on the wrong layer. I need this layer, or this layer. Where's the layer with the lines? It's not that one. It's not that one. It's this one. Okay. I do wish I was better. Oh, no, I'll leave that. No, I'll get rid of the drips, too. Or you know what I should do is, instead of getting rid of these, I should just turn them off. So what I'll do is turn off that one. I really don't need that right now. And I'll turn this off. And, I guess I kind of need some of that one. So it's okay that I'm doing this beforehand. This is not really vital to the stream at all, because I'm just resetting things. And if somebody shows up, that's fine. If not, that's okay too. I'm just trying to... Okay, those tentacles are on a different layer. Jeez, why did I do that? So many things I do, and I'm like, why? Why did you do that? Why would you have done that? Oh, well, actually, I can explain why, but I'll wait another minute or so before I quote-unquote start the proper part of the stream, which is having the artwork displayed. I guess I have to duplicate that too. And then turn off the underlying one and go in here and erase this. I mean, this doesn't matter as much, but I just want the skull clean by itself, because we'll do that first. That will probably be, if not the entirety of the stream, it will be just the skulls, because I really got to look at how other people do tentacles and figure out why I suck at it, because I'm not good at it, and it's really annoying. I would like to be better at it. But anyway, so I'm actually going to expand this, because the drips can... Alright, hold on. Where am I getting hung up? Right there. You know what? Yeah, this layer's gone. What does that give me? Oh, there's still stuff down there. What's down there? What is down at the bottom? What does it see that's at the bottom? Not that. Hold on. Oh, that. What is on this layer? What is it seeing down here? Unless there was like a pixel. Oh, yeah, that's what it was. There was a pixel or two down there. All right, let's switch over. Here we go. There we go. Probably about a 45-minute stream tonight, starting at this point. So, yeah. So, okay. So this, just lay the land on where this came from, this image that we're looking at right now. This, in its original form, where there's the tentacles and all this stuff like this, this was originally a sketch I did for one of the magic cards one of the many magic cards I'm currently illustrating. I don't say that as a boast. It's just that I have a lot of them that I'm working on. It's kind of exploded because there was a person who posted the cards that I did for them on a Facebook page, apparently, which I haven't even seen, but a Facebook page for people who collect Magic the Gathering artist proofs. And then next day, I think I've told this story. I think I told this story in the last stream. Anyway, my inbox exploded, so I've been doing them and doing them and doing it, and I just keep getting orders. In fact, I had one, I believe, earlier today. Or two. I think I had two earlier today. And so, you know, a lot of them people want artwork based on the fronts, but a lot of them just say, just do something from your imagination. And I did this sketch really quickly one day, because I had this idea in my head of a skull that was being, like a dead skull that was being subsumed by some kind of, I mean, very similar to the Bag of Eyeballs, an eyeball type of creature. Now, I'm probably going to modify this, but the idea that almost like how snails live inside of shells, this would be a creature that sort of uses the top of the skull as its home. And that's where the tentacles were. You can't see them now, but, you know, well, I can turn them back on, like that type of thing. And, you know, so I really like the visual of it. The tentacles for the card, because the card is slim, so it fits fine within that. That was okay. But I would rather do something that's more rounded, you know, that has a little bit more on the width. And that's what I'm going to mess with here. But primarily right now what I'm focused with is I really like how the skull came out. Outside of the fact that I think I may have I have an extra tooth here. Let me look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, no. Even. 12. So 6 and 6. No, that's okay. It just looks like they're uneven, but they're really not. Okay, good, good. So I want to get the skull done because that's the, that's going to be the underlying layer anyway. So we'll just start doing that. And then I got to figure out where I want to go from there. Okay, so let's do a bit of a thicker line on that. So let's, I don't know if I want to use 10. 10 or 8. 10 might be a little much. Let's do 8. Because I want it to be a nice thick outer line. And then I want to be able to have the ability to go down for detail work. So let's go ahead and start doing this, because why not? So we'll just start creating our... Now, you know what? Maybe I should try the tape. I don't know. I don't think I want to use the taper. The taper will be for the detail work. So let's just start creating our skull here. Okay. And we'll just do this. I'm not going to use the symmetry. I use symmetry tools a lot, and I like them, but I don't really need it for this. This is okay to be non-symmetrical since it's a skull. Actually, the lack of symmetry is a plus, so I'd rather have it not be completely symmetrical. I mean, it still is relatively, but it shouldn't be. It does not require the type of symmetry I've done with other images. So I'm not going to worry about that here. All right. Still do the same thing with, you know, using multiple layers for the different lines that I'm doing, because that's okay. But, like I said, do not need the symmetry tool. I think the human skull is perfectly fine with some variation in it. Now, how I'm going to do the teeth is... And I'm actually adding a little bit more cragginess to it, which you can probably see. I'm just kind of using the initial sketch as a baseline. Do I want to have... No, the eye socket should be the same size. So let's see. What we want to do is let's define... No, not like that, though. Let's do this, because the trick is always to not have a weird blip on the end of my brush strokes, or whatever you want to call it, which I just kind of did. So actually, maybe it doesn't matter for this. Let's see. No, okay, that came out all right. So we'll do this. We'll do a little chunk out of the eye that I didn't do in the original, but I think would look good. We'll have this coming down like that. chip in the eye socket. And then we'll do this over here. So, yeah. So I did this as the basis for one of the sketches. And I actually really like, and honestly, that one, I think because I liked the way this looked in the digital image, I think for that reason, that sketch went very quickly for how they've been going. Because I don't want to, I'm really trying to balance. I don't want to just race through them. At the same time, I don't want people waiting months for their cards. That would drive me crazy. And it's also actually tough. I am having, I'll admit, I mean, look, this is a relative thing, but it is actually tough for me to work on that small scale. I'm not used to working that small. So it's really, it's been weird. And it's actually been very tough at times because you don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to make an error because then I have to restart the whole card. I already blew one card because I got so upset with how badly something I was trying went. And I don't want to just chew through these cards and throw them away because there seems to be at least a moderate, again, this is not bragging, this is just the reality. People want these cards. I just had somebody come back and wanting more after the person just ordered, I think, 6 or 8 of them. So I don't want to just be throwing them away, you know, and I mean, or not being able to use them. I'm not going to sell somebody something with a bad drawing. I did one where I was trying to freehand something and it looked so bad. That was the one I tossed. And I'm just like, I cannot possibly, even as an error card, I probably could have saved it, but I wasn't in the right headspace. So I don't want to keep doing that. I want to be able to, you know, get these things done with the quality that people would expect from a commission and still be able to not take forever doing them. Because I'm not a particularly fast artist. I'm not. I mean, even outside of the stream where I'm just sitting here rambling, I'm not a fast artist. I'm just not. Never have been. Doubt I ever will be. And so I'm trying to figure out what the best approach is for some of this stuff, which, you know what, I am going to use the taper brush for this. Because I think that's good to have the taper on the... Okay, well, I need to make it bigger than that, though. Can't be that. So let's bring it up to, I guess, what am I using, 8? Yeah, that's 8. Okay, let's switch over to another layer just to be on the safe side. And we'll do something like this. Yeah, that I'm all right with. So we'll do some tapering on this. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, it's been a weird experience. Not negative. I don't want to say it like it's a bad thing. I cannot complain about the fact that, and this, I was talking to somebody about this, and they said, well, you know, are you expecting more work? And I'm not. I'm honestly, I'm just not. I'm trying to keep myself in the headspace of, if they come back to me for something else, I will absolutely be thrilled to do it. But I am not setting myself up to expect that. This could very, very easily be a one-time thing. And so I'm just trying to focus on doing as good a job on these artist proofs as possible so that hopefully, what I would hope, is that some feedback gets back to Magic that people like their cards. Because I assume, I know nothing. But I would hope, I guess that's the better term for it, that if they hear from people that, oh, this, you know, we like the proofs this person's done, and, you know, there is some collectible value to them. I don't even really know how to judge that, but there is. That might be an encouragement for them to come to me for something else. I don't know. Or it's going to be just the one and done. This may be a one-time thing and they never come to me again. I'm not going to be upset if that's the case. I mean, I'd be disappointed. Sure, I'd love to do more work. But at the same time, can I really complain when there are... I mean, I see on Twitter all the time artists who are desperate to work for Magic that would love the opportunity and don't get it. You know? So am I really going to be in a position to complain? No. I can't possibly complain because there are lots of people who will never get this shot, that will never be able to do, forget 3 cards, but 1 card. There are people who really would love to, and honestly, if I'm just being honest about it and straightforward about it, I'm not a fantasy artist. I'm not. The fact that they picked me at all is sort of astonishing. because I'm not a fantasy artist. I don't like fantasy stuff, really, which is terrible to say. I mean, it's not like I hate it, but it's not an area I work in a lot, even though I'm sitting here drawing a skull that's got tentacles coming out of it, which I guess is a fantasy thing. So what, so I'm an idiot. But it's not a type of artwork I normally do. It's not like there's a whole bunch of it that they would look at and say, oh yeah, this is somebody that should be doing our cards because look at all the fantasy art this guy does. No, I don't do any of that stuff. So it's frankly amazing they went with me at all. It just happened that my art style fit something they wanted, but it's not because I was a natural fit for Magic cards. So I am not going, if this is the only thing I ever do for them, I have zero right to complain. Zero. And I won't even act like I have a right to complain because I won't have a right to complain. So, so it is a lot of work, believe it or not. It's not as simple. I think some people think you could just doodle things. And hey, some people can. I'm not one of them people. Some people have that gift, and I envy the ability of some people to just manifest stuff out of their imagination with very little effort. I wish I could do that, but it's very often stuff like this where just for some reason I happen to see something a certain way and thought, oh, that would be interesting to do blah, 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 blah with. But certainly not because I'm really good at just coming up with random ideas. So this was just a rare, like I said, this worked out. But so this skull image was for one of the cards where the person said, just do whatever you want out of your imagination. What I did was I started sketching different ideas down in one of my sketchbooks so that I could have some ready-made ideas. Not ready-made. I didn't literally copy them, but I wanted stuff to work off of because some people have been asking, or if anybody else says, I'll just do something out of your imagination, I want to have kind of a starting point, stuff that I can go off of. So that's what that sketchbook is for. And that's been working out pretty well, I have to say. That's doing the job. I've been able to mine that for a couple things. This one I just did on the iPad. This is, I just went and found a reference image of a skull, and then I just grafted this blob thing on top because I did enjoy drawing the bag of eyeballs. So I was like, oh, that'd be kind of neat. So, that's where this came from. So there is a Magic card that I did for somebody that is essentially this image, but I could only go so far with it because it was physical, and I don't work in color a lot, so it's not like I have 1,000 color markers and pens to work with. So I've been kind of improvising with what I've got. But on an iPad, I can do a lot more, and the tentacles, I can have a lot more of them because again, that's a terrible tooth though. There's a space issue as well with the card because, like I said, it's only 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches. So I can't have, like you see here as a square, I can't have writhing tentacles coming off the... No, because the card is like that. So the space is limited. And I also have to leave room to do a signature and a numbering, so I have to be careful. And then I had one where I was using a black ink pen, and the pen started leaking onto the card. And luckily, where the pen leaked was an area of black anyway, so it doesn't matter. It didn't hurt anything. But I gotta tell you, and that was at the end of the image. I mean, that was in the final stages of it. I would have been really annoyed if I lost that image because of that pen leak. That would have really... So now I'm not even bothering with those pens on anything because now they're basically unreliable. So I'm not, which is too bad because they're one of my few sets of color pens, but I'm not taking a risk. I'm not going to ruin something now if I can't trust the pen, which I can't. Again, something that doesn't happen on an iPad. So that's yet another advantage of digital art for me is there's no ink spillage. So, and also, yeah, the scale is really throwing me because I don't work that small ordinarily, anywhere near that small. The smallest I generally work in physical, typically, I a lot of the pictures I've done when I was still doing a lot of the physical stuff was 18 by 24. So 4 times the size of a card, easily 4 times the size of a card. That tooth is just not right. I gotta fix that. Give me a second here. Let me just concentrate on this. There, I'm okay with that. And the card is so drastically smaller that, yeah, I literally at times, because I don't have great eyesight, luckily I'm nearsighted, so I take my glasses off and I will have my face 3 to 4 inches from the card because I'm using a 0.05 millimeter brush tip, or ink brush, whatever you call it, pen tip, which is very, very small lines. So I have to be very careful when I'm doing that stuff. And where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so working at the small scale is throwing me off too. Again, I'm complaining, or it sounds like I'm complaining. I'm really not, or at least I'm trying not to be a complainer about it. This is a wonderful problem to have, is all these, these cards that people are ordering and trying to figure out how to do them. And it is, I think, a very good exercise in terms of imagination. It's really making me kind of stretch my imagination. Like somebody just ordered, they asked for a bear on one of the cards. I'm like, oh, demon bear. I've never drawn a demon bear that I can think of. So I'm going to draw a demon bear. That's fun. I can already picture it in my head. Hopefully I can get it. I'm going to do a sketch on the iPad first of it. But I got to find a couple of reference photos because I don't draw bears. So I don't, like, I can kind of, I kind of draw a bear. Like, okay, bear, nose, I think is kind of one of those noses. And I know they have kind of ears. But see, this is going to be more like a teddy bear. Like, I know they have big faces, and I know they have teeth, but, that's not the bear it's going to be. That is a drunk bear. So let's get rid of the drunk bear. But it is going to, I do know, no matter what the reference photo is, I am going to have eyes that are kind of like this, like sunken, like really kind of, like I know bears a lot of times have sunken eyes, and the hair around the eyes is dark. So I do want to have this idea of like these piercing circular eyes. And then, I might have fire coming off it or something, like haloing it, something like that. But, again, I don't draw a lot of bears. So my bear would probably look like a Care Bear or a Fozzie Bear as opposed to a bear. I do want it to look like a bear and be a scary, demonic bear. So I'm going to find a picture of a bear with like the teeth bared and all that stuff. Teeth bared, bear. That type of thing. And that's my plan. But that's, So where was I going with that? So that stuff's fun. So when somebody else wanted gnomes, and I don't draw a lot of gnomes, so I got to draw a gnome, and the person really liked it, which is great because I got to draw something I don't usually draw, but it was a neat idea, and that one was a very, very purely fantasy gnome because it was nothing really magical, just a gnome with a big beard and a big hat and this long kind of Tolkien pipe with smoke coming out. I did the smoke kind of wafting around. And that was it. It was really fun. It was just a fun little gnome. You couldn't even see his eyes. The hat was pulled over his eyes. And the guy liked it. So that's great. That's fantastic. The best case scenario. So that stuff is fun. The stretching part of imagination I like a lot. It's making me kind of think a little bit outside of things and play around. But I'm also highly paranoid about the scale that I'm working at because I've seen some cards where you can tell that the person drawing the card made a mistake and they still sent the card out like that. Now, there are people who like to get artwork that's not perfect, meaning that there's obviously an error. And it's not like, if I end up with cards that are almost good but kind of screwed up, I might offer those for a reduced price or something like that. But generally, I don't want to do that. I don't want to offer a version of work that's not good, that I wouldn't want. But I know there are people who collect defects and stuff like that. Those collectors are around. So I don't know. But my goal with doing this stuff is not to do that. My goal is to do as clean a version as I can in physical. But that's tough. It's tough in a small scale for me. I'll say it like that. Probably not actually tough for somebody who's practiced at working at smaller scales, but it is certainly not a second nature type of thing for me. But again, I'm not, wrong brush. This is not me complaining, or I hope it is not taken as me complaining about the fact that I have the opportunity to do this stuff at all. So I'm still blown away by it. The fact that anybody wants my work is just crazy, that I got to do this thing at all. So that is not mock humility or anything like that. That is genuine, like, wow, what the hell is going on here type stuff. So we'll see. It hasn't been too bad though. I'm the other challenge that and when I talked to my best friend Lando about this, he specifically said, yeah, you're making this your own problem, which he's right. Is the other thing with me is I don't want any of the stuff that I'm doing to look alike. So when somebody says, oh, can you do the front artwork on the back? I'm trying to individualize each of those drawings because that's what I would want. I would want my own version of something. I wouldn't want to look and see, because there are people who do that, and that's fine if that's what they do, and people still buy them. So obviously it's not something that matters to everybody. But to me, it's like I want if you took every card I've done so far where they said do the front artwork on the back, right? Or, whatever. You put every one of those cards next to each other, none of them looks identical. They obviously are all similar because they're coming from similar images and me, but they're not the same. You would absolutely know the difference. Sorry, I'm just making sure. Okay, there we go. You could see the difference in the cards very clearly. You would be able to distinguish that there was a difference in... you could see many, and not just literally me using a different color or brush size. It's more than that. Whether it's the use of geometry in certain ways or things like that. That's what I'm trying to do a lot of, is kind of some neat stuff with geometry and just messing around. But ultimately, I don't want these things to look similar. I want them to look different. I want it to be that somebody has a truly individual piece of work. Hold on, is that the same size? It is the same size. Let's go down to 3. So that's the goal. Whether I'm actually, I will use the taper brush. I wasn't going to, but I will use the taper brush on a 5. Let's just use that. New layer, please. There we go. So that is the goal. And I've been doing pretty well at it. I'm going to say, doing pretty well at it. Trying to make sure that nobody looks at somebody else's, because these people who collect these collectors, they do post them on forums and stuff. And I don't want it to be one of these things where you see all these cards and realize that I just did the same thing over and over and over. They are all individualized. So that I'm very happy with. That's going very well. Okay, so now let's go ahead and put a black layer in. We could probably use the paint for that. How big is that paint? Oh, yeah, we could do that. Just because I always like having the black eye sockets. That's kind of a neat thing for me. So like I said, it's interesting. And some of them have been more challenging than others. I've had some drawings that went really fast, which is great because I didn't expect that. But like this one I knocked out in one night. The majority of it, not the entirety, because I did add some color and I did some other things to it. But from when I sat down with the card in this sketch, in the same night I had all of the actual line work done, which is not typical. Usually I'm, doing it over a couple of nights because I'm trying to figure things out. And also because it's just taking me a while. And as I've said in many of my streams, it is very good to step away from your stuff. So I don't want to just sit there, because after a while, I can tell I'm not really looking at it objectively anymore. And I don't want to do that, because unlike with the iPad, where if I realize tomorrow that I've made some huge stupid error with this thing, I can fix it. Can't do that with a card. I will not be happy if I realize I've ruined a card, So it's that, I think, is actually a very important thing that I've always done that is helping me with those cards, is to stop and say, all right, I've been working on this for an hour straight. I've been staring at this thing very closely, literally, physically closely in many circumstances. And it's like, okay, it is time to step back from this thing for a minute and look at what's going on and not get consumed by staring at it, because I think that will lead to mistakes. Maybe is the wrong word, but it will lead. I don't want to look back at something that I just spent 3 hours on and realize I hate something I did with it. I'd rather start a couple times and gradually get to, sort of like with sculpting out of marble or something. Just chip away at the stuff that I'm doing and get to where I want to be. And I think I'm doing all right at that. Because so far I really haven't had any cards that I was not comfortable sending to somebody. Because there's another thing I kind of set for myself where I thought, okay, if I finish a card and I look at it the next day and I don't like it, I'm not sending it. I'll give it to a friend or something like that. I'll figure something else out to do with it, but I'm not going to send out a card that if I paid for it, I wouldn't want to get. That was a very, I thought that day one, that I was not just going to send things out because I could. Because I could send out a very quick and half-hearted sketch and say, well, there is no defined anything with these. It's literally, I've seen very, very detailed. Man, some of the stuff people do just blows my mind where they're painting on these cards. It's like when people do Warhammer stuff or, small figures where they're painting them. I do not possess that degree of either control or patience. No chance am I going to be painting some small figure like that. The closest I come to that is the pictures I do there, like Bob Ross pictures, and those are very loose. There's not a lot of tight detail on those. You can be sloppy. Part of the Bob Ross thing is you're working in wet paint or very wet technique. And so you can literally, no exaggeration, if you make a mistake, you can blend it out of existence, which is why I'm okay playing with that stuff, because if I make an error, I can just blend it out and you'll never see it. I mean, you can make mistakes that can't be covered up, but it's tough. It's a very generous paint style because you can blend things into nothingness. And so I'm okay with that because my sucking at painting isn't as much of an impact when I can just blend the mistakes away. Can't do that on a card in ink. So, I'm not, if I really screwed something up or made a terrible error that I couldn't recover from, which fortunately I haven't. I've had a couple little mistakes here and there, but I was able to, blend them away. I was able to incorporate them in a way that I don't think, unless you really knew what to look for, you would see it. And I'm okay with that. That is not a problem for me because none of them really destroyed the work. If it did, I would have to just start over, which fortunately I have not had to do. Again, I've been very lucky. Have not had to start anything over. All the images that I've done have worked out. The people who've gotten them so far like them. So it's all been positive outside of that one card that I destroyed, which I destroyed it. Therefore, nobody's going to see it, so I don't care so much. But yes, that was a not great evening, I will say. I was pretty upset about that. But, it's one card out of the, 30 that I've done so far. I really am not going to complain too much because that's a pretty good ratio for, at least for me, in my own assessment, as somebody who never does this stuff, or up to now has never done. I've never done artist proofs of anything before. So to screw up one out of all of them, I am not minding that all that much. It's just not going to be so upset about it. We'll take a quick drink here. Jeez, it's been 33 minutes already? Wow. Time flies when you just babble and babble and babble and babble. Something I've also said many times. Okay, so, yeah, let's get these black areas filled in. But see, even right there, I already like this. I already like where this is, and it's not really much of anywhere, but as I expected, this stream is going to mostly just be doing the skull. That's okay, because this is a good base level thing to then build our stuff off of. And I'm not done with it. This is just where I am at the moment. And the tape brush, I think, works well for because the skull has a lot of areas that just kind of soften into themselves. So that's good for something like a taper brush will work for that. What's the paintbrush? How big is the paint? Oh, no, I can use the paint thing for a lot of this. Not everything, but I can use it for a lot of it. Just makes it go faster. Because I do love black areas. I do love them. Let's see here. And it's funny, too, because I've had people that have done card requests and requested painting. And I basically say, I'm like, all right, I just want to make it clear. I don't paint on these cards. and I think in every one of them I say something to the effect of, you wouldn't want these cards if I painted on them, because they're basically going to be kindergarten finger painting quality, because I'm not a painter. I don't pretend to be. Painting is not my skill, outside of, again, the very loosest of approaches that is highly forgiving, which is not going to be the case on a small scale card where I can't, I guess I could strip all the paint off and start over, but that just seems like a friggin' nightmare. So, wait a minute. Okay, just making sure I filled in the right stuff. So I've basically been very clear about, all right, these are not paintings. I am not a card painter, and I'm not going to attempt to paint a card, just so that the expectation is correct. You know? And I can understand where people might look at the published card images and think it's paintings, which it's not. It is absolutely not painting, at least not in the sense that I think most people might mistake it for. Number one, it's all digital, and it is definitely not painted. You know, it's honest. If anything, I'm just taking certain things and smearing them around to make a stained glass effect, but it's not painting. So I don't want anybody to be misled on that. So I'm very, very, very upfront about that when I'm like, okay, just understand that I am not a painter. So I will do color, which even that, if I'm being honest with you, I'm not the most comfortable at. I'm getting a little better at it now, but even painting with a marker, I'm kind of like, all right, I'm not really a painter, but we'll try this. You know, so I don't want to just stay in a very familiar comfort zone. That's not good for you in a creative sense either, but I don't want to butcher somebody's cards. So there have been some moments where I, you know, fortunately I can do tests on a piece of paper and kind of get an idea what happens, but even that is only really, I'm going to say a 90% guess, because it reacts differently on different surfaces. So a pen looking one color on a piece of literal just printer paper, which is like scratch paper is what I'm using, doesn't mean that when I put it to the card, it's going to look like that. So I've rolled the dice on a few things, and fortunately now I'm at a point where I can kind of judge it fairly well. But the first few, I was rolling the dice on what they were going to look like. But now I'm pretty comfortable with how the markers feel on the paper and which ones, again, are reliable and not. So I know which ones are my unreliable markers now, and I'm very careful when I use those to make sure that if I'm going to use them, they're in an area where if the marker bleeds, it will not really hurt anything, which there are those cases. So it's not like I can't use those markers at all, but I'm very selective on when I break those out. And it's not often. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use a very small taper brush in here too. I like the taper brushes. The taper brush is really starting to grow on me. I got to admit, I'm having more fun with this thing than I ever really thought I would. I do like the idea that you can get that little thin edge on it. Yeah, that's not bad. I'm kind of digging that. Yeah, see, it just gives it a little bit more character. Don't need to use it everywhere. Don't need to use it all the time, but I don't mind using it like I thought I would. I'm kind of having a good time with it. Yeah, see, just little stuff. Just little accentuations. Doesn't have to be a lot. In fact, most of it won't be. Most of it is going to be this pen, even at the small scale, because I think, you know, I still like my kind of boldish lines on it with the rounded edge. Fundamentally, I'm kind of not a Sharpie artist is what I was going to say, but that's not really true because I don't draw a lot with a Sharpie. But in other words, I kind of like the thick lines. The thick black lines are good. Not that one, though, because that makes no sense. I might use the taper brush on the teeth, too. I've got to see. I'm going to see what I want to do. Ooh, not that. That's too rounded. I want a little bit of a round. There we go. Little bit of an indication of some, not that much though. Gotta keep it somewhat restrained here. Little indications of bone movement, you know. But it has been, like I said, I really, if anything about this has sounded like me complaining about the magic stuff, I do not want that to be misconstrued. I am not complaining. I am exceptionally lucky. Exceptionally lucky that this has happened at all. It is at times strange because I'm just, as I've probably said this on the stream before, but I don't remember. And this is not, again, this is not fake hubris or anything, or humility, not hubris. Humility. Hubris would be the opposite. I'm not trying to seem aw shucks humble, but I had long given up on anything like this happening. I had just accepted that, nope, you're not going to be a paid artist. You're going to do little things here and there, but there will never be anything bigger than that. You will never see anything of yours in print. And that is no longer true. Which is still strange on a psychic level to think about, but it is in fact true. So, pretty awesome. And that's kind of one of my things with the stream, where I'm always like, hey, just draw something. Just draw something and put it somewhere that somebody can see it, because you really don't know. You don't have to do marketing or anything like that if you don't want to. Just put your stuff out there, and there is a chance. There is a chance somebody will see it and be like, oh, you know what? This is a good fit for what we're doing. You know? And if that happens, go with it. Have a great time with it, because you don't know if it'll last, but if somebody wants your work, do the work. Why not? There is probably no downside as long as you're getting paid. Don't do it for free. I will say it. Don't do it for free. But as long as you're getting paid, do it. Because why not? Because it may never happen again. So don't turn down a good opportunity if it is in fact a good opportunity, which mine was. Because the person I worked with at Magic was great. Okay, that's too small. Really, really fantastic. Nothing bad to say about that person either. She was a joy to work with. And the company in general, not just her, but I mean, wow, yeah, it's weird. Hold on. There we go. I really have no complaints about it, so. And I still don't. It's pretty awesome. Hopefully more will come with it, but like I said, if not, I'm okay. And the people who've bought the cards have been very nice too. Very kind words. I assume they're genuine. If not, they're being very nice by lying. But I don't think they are. I think the people actually like what they got. It's easy to forget that. If you're a creator, it's so easy to focus on. We creators are often so critical of our own work, and it's a shame because it's easy to forget how lucky it is to be able to create at all. Because not everybody can do it. There's lots of people who look at stuff, they'll watch me draw something and they'll really, and again, I'm not saying this as in some kind of amazingly skilled artist. I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm great or anything, but they'll be, maybe in awe is the wrong word, but they're really astonished at the fact that I can just draw lines. And it's easy to forget that where I am, because all I see is people who, other artists who are famous are really good, and I think, well, those people are great and my stuff sucks. Well, no, it doesn't. It's just different. And there are going to be people who look at it and like it. So, whatever. That's true of everything. So, if you have the ability to create, you should. And, there's a good chance that people who care about you are going to like it legitimately, whether it's you think it's good or not. They'll just be happy to see you doing stuff that's creative. My mother doesn't understand what any of this stuff is, but I sent her the 3 cards that I made. I got some. And she really liked them. She didn't understand what they were, but she was happy that I was happy to have made them. So, put them in a frame, and she's got them hanging up. Like I said, does she really think that they're good art? Probably not. My mom likes Thomas Kincaid stuff. This is not Thomas Kincaid. I'm not a painter of light. But she don't care. She knows that I had a good time making them, and she's proud of me for making them, and that's the thing. So, that's what I mean. Just do the stuff and see how it goes. You never really know. Okay, where are we? Yeah, we'll do a few more minutes here. I'm going to do a little bit more of a little bit of shading on this, and then I think we will draw this to a close for today. But I just want to see. Oh, maybe I need to go further than that. Let's see. Oh no, that's it, huh? Oh yeah, it is. Keep forgetting the skeleton I'm working at. We'll just do a little bit of shading lines down here. I'm not going to bother with the taper brush on this. I don't mind that. Yeah, I like that. That's good. Wasn't sure what I was going to do for the... I don't think I'm going to do the cross-hatching thing on this one. I think I'm going to go back to my old way of... My simple way of shading, I think, works for something like this that's a simple shape. I mean, it's a skull. This is not a... Not that the mushroom was, especially deep or, complicated. But still, the skull is kind of a... Starkness befits a skull to me, so I like it. I may use the taper brush for some things, but I think a lot of my shading is going to be like that. We'll see. I'm not ruling out the taper brush yet, because even in my head right now, I'm like, oh, I have an idea where the taper brush might work. But we'll cross that when we get to it. So there we are. That's where we are at the moment. So we've got as I expected, the stream is mostly just doing that part of the skull, but I still like it. I liked it when I sketched it originally. I like it now. So this is where we'll be going. That part on the top, I think I'm going to change. I don't think it's going to be quite like this. I think I'm going to try to make it more like... I don't think it's going to be all eyes like this one is. I think I'm going to maybe have it with 1 or 2 eyes and some kind of, I don't know, stalks or protrusions or something. I don't really know yet. I'll cross that probably next time. And I haven't forgotten about Spiral. Spiral's still there. But Spiral is fairly locked in. So this one is kind of in my head, the skull thing. So I want to ride with this for a while and do it. Because like this grabbed me for some reason. So anyway, let me do this little magical change back. There we go. This will probably be changing at some point too. Because I actually did make a logo, which of course isn't on this computer, so I can't really show you. But I finally made a logo for myself that I really like. Which still incorporates the skull, which I do also like, but has, like the words Ozone Art Foundry on it, and it has some kind of Art Deco-y patterns that I really like. So I've made myself a fairly good logo that I'm actually happy with. Because I'm not really... Logo design, I'm much better at taking other people's stuff and making a better logo out of it, or what I think is a better logo out of it, than I am creating my own. I've just never... Because some of the stuff that I really like, that I find is representative of me, doesn't really lend itself to a logo all that much. So it's sort of it's a bit of a paradox in there. But whatever. I'm not unhappy with it. It's moving the way I want it to move. And I finally got to a logo that I like. So I may change my mind about that in a month, but that's okay, because I can just make another one. Anyway, yeah, we're going to keep going with the skull for a bit. And, yeah, so go out there, like I said. This whole stream, I think I started right off in the beginning saying, you just don't know where stuff that you create will go. Even if you don't think it's that great, even if you don't think it's anything that anybody would like, you just don't know. So, and creation can take many forms. It doesn't have to be something grand and overdone. It doesn't have to take you a long time. It doesn't even have to be anything necessarily organized. I do want to at some point do some more giggle drawings. Doodle drawings. I don't know where I went to giggle from. Doodly drawings again. Just to emphasize that even something like that exercise can build up. There are also, by the way, I should say, like figure drawing online classes you can do for that type of thing if there aren't any nearby you, which I think I'm going to do some of those myself because I think those are fun. I may do some of those live where I'm watching it on one screen and drawing it on another. I just have to figure out how that would work, but I think I could do it. And that might be fun just to see, what literally just figure drawing sketching looks like, how that works. That's fun stuff too. Even if all you do is make those sketches, I still have some of mine from college that I really like. So it doesn't even have to be something where it gets to a, quote, finished state. You can still do it. Anyway, bottom line is, go create something. Create something. It doesn't matter what it is. Because there's always going to be somebody who appreciates it. And now there's so many avenues where you can post stuff on online portfolios that you don't even have to pay for. Even Instagram, you can use it for that, or Flickr, or Twitter, you can use as a gallery. I mean, just be aware it might shut down someday. Who knows? But you have those avenues. You don't really have to pay anything, and you can have people look at your stuff. And who knows? You don't know where it's going to go. That's the beauty of it. You really don't know. There at one point, you would have sort of things you would have to do to have a certain degree of success, and you would have to cross those barriers or accomplish these certain steps. That is no longer true. Absolutely is not true. So, yeah, create something. Even if it's just for yourself. Just have a good time with it. Anyway, I'm babbling. So thank you for coming by and stopping and watching the stream, either live or later. Doesn't matter to me either way. Go out there and create something large or small, and we'll see you on the next stream. Take care.